want to talk about the buzz in Ireland because I think, as I said, we have a bit of a unique perspective on this.
This is an interesting bit.
This is an interesting one for you as well because for you viewers who don't know, Sean was kind of introduced to MMA with McGregor, kind of similar time, kind of brought in. He's of that age. And I think your perspective would be interesting on this because you saw from the start, you kind of grew up with it, and now you're seeing where it is now. So I'm going to throw it to you first, Sean. What is the buzz like for McGregor's comeback over here in Ireland at the moment?
It's interesting because I think the people who you'd expect to be talking about the fight are talking about it.
Yeah.
Like people who are interested in MMA, but there was also a time when he was fighting Aldo, when he was fighting Alvarez, when he was fighting Nate. Everyone, like your mum was talking about it, your dad was talking about it. It was in the papers. It was front page news, and he was this superstar. I don't think that's the case with this fight.
Definitely not.
I think it's been a very under the radar fight week.
Yeah.
With McGregor, I think for lots of reasons, there isn't the support for McGregor that there once was. I'll take it back to how I started. Like when he started, he was this person who had the boy done good in Dublin. He started with nothing and he worked his way up and he grinded and he talked a bit of shit and he backed it up. Yeah. But it was all a bit of fun. It was business to him. And then things kind of started getting out of hand. Ego, money, fame, superstardom. He was
the typical story of the rags to riches story in a way.
And he became this superstar. He was up there with the biggest names in sport in terms of superstardom. Yeah. And so we start with, like, there's stories within Ireland that obviously can't be talked about. There was other stuff that was punching a man. There's been a few court appearances that was throwing the dolly through the bus, and that's when it kind of becomes that it's not just shit talking and business. It's a bit like. It's a bit more than that, and there's no need for a lot of it really. And it becomes hard to support that. Because it's easier to support a guy who you can look at and say, well, he's not got out of here, but he's done good and he's worked his way up, he's worked hard, and now he is where he is. It's harder to support a guy who's now out here punching old men in bars and throwing dollies through buses and assaulting people. And I think that's what's taken away a lot of the buzz. People aren't interested. I think there's a lot more people in Ireland now who want him to lose than ever before. Like whether you liked him or didn't, you were genuinely talking about him. I think a lot of people aren't even talking about him now in Ireland. That's how I feel. Like people, you even just hear people talking, they're like, geez, I hope that lad gets bet. So
and I always find it hard to explain.
Sorry, and someone's going to pick me up on that. Gets bet. Gets beat.
Get bet. I think it's kind of hard to explain the situation in Ireland in terms of like why he was such a big superstar and why he meant so much to people. And I think people right now, especially people who really hate him now, they don't like to admit how popular he was and he was like a sporting hero in Ireland. And I said I just find it very difficult to explain that to people, say in America, when someone says, you know, he was one of us and he was somebody we followed because he represented Ireland. Because you don't really get that in America, I don't think. It's such a big country. It's a very different culture. But over here, you had, as you said, like your parents used to watch him. Even some people's grandparents. My grandparents didn't, but they're
the RT documentaries as well were very good.
Exactly, yeah. So like people didn't necessarily watch him because they liked the sport. They watched him because they liked him, and that was a big difference. So when he started doing all this stuff, and I think it's especially punching the guy in the bar, because that one kind of it hit home to most people. It was very different than, say, the Dolly incident, where that almost felt really removed from us. It was so far away. It was still technically in the MMA arena because it was in, you know, it was to do with fighters and stuff. So it was kind of disconnected. I think people still fell off the bandwagon, so to speak, then. But it was really the punch in the bar that really hurt them, I think, over here. The
punch in the bar is kind of one of those where if one of us did it, you'd go home and your mother would be fucking, and you'd be mortified. She is what she'd tell you. She'd be mortified that you're her son. Whereas when he was out doing well and fighting and talking a bit of shit and being this cocky, brash kid, it was so much more fun, and it was easy to follow him, and it was fun, and it was just a good ride to be on. Whereas, like his parent, we were mortified to say that he was Irish when he was punching guys in bars. And that's why I think it's such a touchy subject over here, you know, is because
It's not just like this is a guy for a lot of people. It's not like this is a guy I used to like. It's like this is a guy that I used to say represented us in a certain way, and that's the way it was. And people don't like to admit that, but that's exactly the way it was. And it's not by accident. It's because McGregor wanted it to be that way, or at least he made the moves to make it that way. Because every time he was in a moment that was historic for his career, he tethered himself straight back to Ireland. It was Ireland, baby. We did it.
The flag was always
the flag was draped over his shoulders, and he basically made those achievements Ireland's achievements, and that's what he done. And you can disagree with that now, and you can even disagree with that at the time, but that's how a lot of people saw it.
The flag was there. Sinead O'Connor was walking him out at the time. Like it was a phenomenal time, and I think it's just we were mortified to see him doing this stuff because he was one of us. He did represent us. It's not this. It's the rehabilitation bit is interesting as well, as in the recent interviews we've both seen the interview with Ariel, and he does seem a lot kind of back to his old self that he was in previous interviews of years ago. But it's hard to buy into it now. As in, if you talking to someone and they say, still love McGregor, still think he represents us, you're kind of associating yourself then with certain things that you don't necessarily want to be associated with, or that aren't good to be associated with.
John Kavanagh came out and said that he thinks it's crazy that people are saying that the sports is not there for him, and I think that's absolutely insane.
I think it's
absolutely clear that it's not the same as it used to be. It just isn't. You can say that the MMA fans, the hardcore MMA fans, are still watching. That's 100% true, because they're always going to watch. You can say that a lot of that fan base are still supporting him, because I think that's true. There is a certain portion of that fan base that's
look, he's Irish, and I personally still want to see him win.
There you go,
but
right?
Sorry, go on.
But I think it is insane to say that he still has the same support from the Irish public, and what I mean by that is the portion of people who used to watch his fights that couldn't give two fucks about MMA unless it was Conor McGregor. Because they just aren't watching anymore. They're gone.
I'm not emotionally invested in him anymore.
That's the thing.
Like I said, with the if you say you support McGregor now, you're associating yourself with certain things. In his I don't even know, was he in his prime? Is he past his prime? We don't really know.
It's a weird one.
When he was fighting Aldo, Alvarez, Mendez, these guys, the things you would have associated him with were brashness, cockiness, a little bit of arrogance, but hard work, dedication, and lots of hard work and dedication, and that's what got him there. But we loved him for it, and now that got us emotionally invested in him. And for me, part of the fun with sport is getting emotionally invested in people and in teams, and that's gone. For me, it probably isn't gonna come back.